Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As with you always, this is Max doing another live video today on XRP. Uh, Thank you for being here. Please smash that like. And we're going to start things off with the one and only Brittany. Thank you for being here, Brittany. Hopefully, you're having a great day, great Monday. Appreciate you. We're going to pull up some banners real quick for the brand and the disclaimer. Okay. And then on top of that, let's see what else we got. We got the one and only Tim Shea. Says, hey, thank you for being here, Tim. And we're going to get through a few more comments. We're going to obviously share some of the news headlines and so on with you guys. Today, it's going to be talking about a little bit like, what's going on in the mainstream news, as well as we're going to talk about QNT. Also on top of that, some Jasmy, XLM, some XDC, and then what's going on with the concept of like, are we going into a bull market or are we ready in a bull market? All those things. All right. Want to welcome Josh Cornwell, JC the man. Thank you for being here, Josh. Appreciate you. So what's up? What's up? You can give him a follow over at JC the man. And Mike says, glad it's Max. Max works hard. Larry is so unprepared. Well, I'll state this, all right? So I want to address some of this. I've gotten some complaints in regards to this, all right? So on a serious note, I want to state this, okay? So here's the thing, all right? Some people have even, I share some with this Larry, or I should say I share some of this with Larry, some of the complaints, some of the concerns, and so on. I've had my own complaints and whatnot. At the end of the day, he is his own person. Some people feel as though it's damaging. But we did come to the conclusion that like if you're expecting a serious crypto show with him, obviously it's not going to be that. Some people, I'm not going to state what names, there's more than one, have stated that I should quit and do my own thing. And while I've been receiving some of these, I guess you could say, not only complaints but recommendations, I just came to the conclusion I don't want to start over, and it's not like that. I'm actually pretty good friends with Larry, gotten to know him for quite a long time. But I'll just state this, right? So, like, typically speaking, I'm with you guys Monday through Friday, okay? Unless somebody, obviously him, has to sub for me. If he's on, it's not going to be this type of show, you know? So for the most part, I do try to stick to Monday through Friday. If you don't want to watch the show on the weekends, this means no disrespect to anybody. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. It's just it's DGen Talk Now. So I'm gonna make him a new thumbnail. It may even have an eggplant on it, believe it or not. He's not gonna be holding one or anything. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just not looking to go back to my old original platform of Maximus Crypto and start over. It's just I think for me, as the saying goes, that would literally take the wind out of my sails. I don't know if I'd ever get motivated again to continue with it because, as you guys know, it's been a long grind anyway. But yeah, I mean, I came over to this platform originally in April 2022. Because it was an opportunity to be on a bigger platform and so on. It is what it is, but that's all I can say. If you're expecting to have a serious show with him, then it's just not going to be the case. So, I mean, nobody's saying that you guys got to watch the show every day, but if you're expecting that, like on the weekends or like, let's say something crazy was to happen, I have to have a film. I've told him, I was like, you don't have to do a show every day. We don't have to. He wants to keep the streak alive, but it is what it is. If you see him on, we understand. We don't take it personal. You don't have to watch. So he will even admit to that. You know what you're saying? Larry's unprepared. It is what it is. All right. Selmo Flood, thank you for being here. Crypto Talk Now. Appreciate you, Mr. Selmo Flood. Sobo says, good day to you all. Thank you, Sobo, as well, for being here. River says, how's it going? It's going pretty good. I mean, yesterday I dealt with a lot of complaints about the show and how it goes on the weekend and stuff like that. Larry has thick skin. He understands. I'm just stating that, so in the future, like if he's on, it's going to say DGen Talk Now, and you are probably going to see an eggplant, and no, he's not going to be holding it because he doesn't want that to be kind of messed up anyway. All right. Want to welcome the one and only Mr. Boomer F and Sooner. Thank you for being here. Welcome back. And on top of that, we got Mr. Henry Brown with the $5 super chat. He says, big shout out to Max, aka Mac10, this West Coast who banging Jasmy Records. Jasmy Records. Wow. Never heard it called that before. That's pretty cool. I meant to get the deep dive out during the weekend. Oh man, like every single time I was going to do something, I got sidetracked. So even today, there was a lot that I wanted to work on today. I am getting sidetracked. So I'm going to do my best to finally get that out. But I do think Boomer F and Sooner, I think it was also maybe Coochie Boy with some info that would round off the research for the Jasmy research. But I am going to share just a tad bit of what's going on in Japan that we saw the last couple days. So it should be a good show. Let's see how we're doing on the likes real quick. So we have 13 likes, 15 people watching. Doing pretty well on it. But if you haven't smashed the like yet, please smash it. It does help get the broadcast out to a broader base. All right. Let's go further down into the comments. But yes, thank you so much once again, Henry Brown, for the $5 super chat. Really do appreciate it. All right. And as we get further into it, Henry Brown is saying to Boomer F and Soon, I heard you super crypto rich. That's interesting. They lying. Tim Shea says, Max, I was close. Oh. Maybe to some of the announcements I made. Really? All right, I understand. I mean, all I got to say, guys, is just that's my thing. I just don't want to. Like, obviously, you guys saw some things that happened was October, and then if you're really, really old school, you probably saw like the little tiff that we had back in like June. It was like I was telling Larry, it was just like, I consider him like one of my best friends, also like a brother. Brothers get on each other's nerves, do they not? They do. They absolutely do. And we were able to talk about things as men should do. And, that's just where it is. Like, I'm looking at the broader, bigger picture. I am just not in the mood to start over. I'm just not. For one, like, you have to get like 1,000 subscribers to get monetized. You have to get 4,000 watch. It's just like, it's a grind as it is. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. It would be even that much more of a grind to just completely start over. I don't know if I would be willing to push through all that. And knowing that, the way I look at it is we have a community of people here. We're really thankful for that, and my thing is, I don't want to create division. It's just not going to be a good thing overall. I think for some people are like, no, it'd be a better thing because they'll just be focused on, like some of you guys have mentioned, like the nonstop news. And no, this complaint is not just from what's his name. Like some of you guys are thinking, Scott Hill. I mean, he seems actually, I haven't even got a recent complaint from him, but, it's just, I think it's going to be more, it's just not going to be for the greater good. I guess you could say it may seem that way, but it's just going to create division. And I really don't want that to happen. So again, I mean, some of you guys like, the DGen Talk Now stuff, and hey, more power to you. Just I want people to understand that, yeah, like Larry told me, if he's on, that's how the show's going to be. So it is what it is. I mean, there's also like, if I was trying to tell him, I was like, if you get your internet fixed, go get a new internet provider. I think that would dramatically help because then he's more enthused about sharing actual crypto stuff. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to talk any more about it. I don't want to put the whole focus on that. But yes, there is literally, I don't know, probably 6 people. What was it? 6? Hold on a second. 7 people. 7 complaints, and I am taking your complaints seriously, but at the same time, just look at it this way: Monday through Friday with me, and then you're more than welcome, if you choose to do so, on the weekend. All right. Let's go further down in the comments. Also want to welcome, if I didn't welcome you properly, Tim Shea, the Mayor of Crypto. Thank you so much for being here. And then on top of that, GS is in the house. Brian Dowie is in the house. Appreciate you guys. Coochie Boy is in the house. I mean, you guys are all longtime members and supporters of this channel. Good times are bad. Salamander also in the house. Thank you. Appreciate you. Dave D. We'll get here into the news here in a bit. Also want to especially welcome this guy, XXI Gaming, longtime supporter. Appreciate that. Let's have you guys smash that like. We're at 20 likes, 25 people watching. Maybe we can tick up in the 30s. Best show on YouTube. Well, I don't know about best show on YouTube. That's still a very, very nice compliment. Thank you. There probably are some better, shows and so on. Okay. So we're going to get further into it. Magic Power with his classic slogan. Hello, guten Tag, Liechtenstein Exchange. Jasmy, the host. Thank you for being here. You was rich before crypto. That's cool. All right. Yeah, you too. It is a grind. It is totally a grind. Don't be fun in Larry's show. Where else can we learn about fake, you know what, and all this stuff? There you go. I mean, if that's you, tune into the show. I'm not saying to not to tune into the show. Just for some of the people that are complaining, I totally get where you're coming from. All right. So there you go. There you go. All right. I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, it's just that some people expect a certain format. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. You like Larry's show, but then again, you're a total degen. Well, there you go. All right. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to highlight a comment. I'm going to highlight a comment, but use it for a bookmark. Let's jump into a Fox Business video / article about what has recently happened. So let's jump into that right now. All right. So this comes from Fox Business. They may make me watch a stupid ad again, to be honest, because I had to use my my ad blocker to unblock their ads. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to use your site. But yeah, we're going to play this. It's about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And in regards to, I guess you could say senior citizens getting scammed in crypto, was I guess up like 78% from the year before. Real sad stuff, right? It's like we know there's laws to protect the elderly. So crimes against the elderly is never a good thing, and especially in crypto. So we're going to play this, and here we go. Oh, let me play this. Jeez. All right, here we go.
The collapse of crypto exchange FTX lost billions of dollars in just a matter of days. Customers lost money they'd invested. For some, their life savings.
More than 1 million investors struggling now to try and get their money back.
I think you should go to jail, and there should be some way to have users recover their funds.
Is crypto dying? I mean, you see what's happened to Bitcoin. You see the rough ride people are having. You see FTX go away and all this money owed. This cannot be painting a very rosy picture for crypto going forward. I'll give you real quick the last word.
There's still a clear use case for decentralization in crypto. The stuff that has fallen is stuff that are centralized actors, effectively, that have had a lot of corruption. And this is what you'd expect in any situation where you have stuff that's not regulated. I don't always believe you need government regulators, but you need some framework of regulation where people are being checked by other people you trust. A lot of what people were calling Web3 was a Ponzi scheme, and it made no sense whatsoever. It was only valued not based on cash flows, not based on creating value in the economy, but based on what people would pay for it. That said, the protocols to have decentralized ownership are very interesting. And I think if you look at how should humanity, make money, how should the financial system work, longer term, it does make sense to have more decentralized power and for something like Bitcoin to exist. And Bitcoin's done a lot of good in the world as well. It's helped people get money out of Russia, out of Venezuela, out of China, it allows more kind of liberty for the financial system from really bad acting governments. And frankly, I don't trust the Federal Reserve in our country, let alone trusting other governments to be in charge of this. So long term, there's a good part of crypto, but most of what we saw in crypto the last 3, 4, 5 years was a speculative bubble driven by cheap money and driven by lots of these Ponzi schemes. And so overall, I think you're going to have most things crash this ecosystem. Long term, I think you will have some of this stuff emerge as useful for the world, but that's not what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a high growth speculative tech stuff all come down.
All right, let's check out some more about this. So, again, a little bit from Fox Business. And here's the report. Just going to share it again. So, basically speaking, and this is why I hate using their site. Anyway, it says the Federal Bureau of Investigation's latest elder fraud report. Hopefully, you guys see this. You do. Let me come back in the frame. Found that U.S. senior citizens were robbed of more than $1 billion through, scams in crypto last year, staggering 78%, like I mentioned earlier, and that was from 2021. Experts warn older Americans to be on the lookout and protect themselves, but they're always going to be vulnerable. Let's just be honest about that. Bankless Times recently analyzed, I should say, the data and reported a 4-fold increase in the crypto crime over the past 12 months, noting the most common scams were, of course, in 2022, which were investment related. Here's a quote. It says, beware of unsolicited messages, emails, social media contacts, particularly if they promote investment opportunities or giveaways. How about this? Watch out for the Telegram, people telling you go on Telegram, people send you a DM. You don't know who they are, especially when it comes to airdrops. I mean, some of this stuff is common, but, especially if you're brand new to the show, you don't know about some of this stuff. It says, quote, scammers will often use these methods to target unsuspecting individuals. They will always verify the legitimacy of such offers through independent sources. Another great example would be like, some people were mentioning, well, I heard that there's a QNT airdrop. Well, go to Quant Network, verify it for yourself. If you don't see anything official, it's probably a scam. The outlet noted that the surge in crypto crimes targeting Americans aged 60 and above is particularly alarming, given data indicating that more than half of older adults admit to having little to no knowledge, for instance, about crypto, right? Or blockchain, DLT, and so on, and point out several flags that may signal a loved one has fallen prey to this type of fraud. So it's sad stuff. So I thought I would share it. I did make some news headlines, to say the least. I will read a couple more comments, and then we'll kick it into one of their top stories or sharings of the day in regards to, I guess you say, bull run thesis number 11. So we'll get into that in a brief moment. I'm going to turn some banners back on, and let's get into this. All right. So let's see who's the last comment. Stump Riders in the house. He says, hi, CTN fan. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Salman says, poo on Elizabeth Warren. I would agree with that. And how about this? Whatever happened to the meet and greet that was talked about last year that was canceled because the Miami event, some of the people that we were, I guess you could say, working with, that didn't end up happening. You can ask Larry more about it next time you see him if you choose to do so. He has more of the details about that than I do. I'm not trying to, kick the can down the road, but that's just simply it. He does. I have a lot more details than I can share in regards to that. Maybe that's all it was, right? Anyway. All right. Max, are you at Mr. Larry's place? No. If I was, my internet would be all horrible. It'd be all choppy. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Maybe you guys saw some bad internet for a brief moment. No, I'm in Phoenix. He's in, somewhere in North Carolina. So, all right. You see that Vaseline on the couch? All right. Let me highlight this, and I am going to kick it into the next part of what we have. So let's get into this right now. All right. All right, so here it is. We have talked about a few of these things. Of course, you guys know I'm subscribed to Invest Your Place, and they had an update over the weekend. I obviously am not with you guys on the weekend unless I have to be. But I'm going to blow this up a little bit more, and it's in regards to some of the things that we should probably all pay attention to. All right, so this comes from Invest Your Place. This is weekly update, crypto surge and impressive show of resilience. They believe, excuse me, this week's rally confirms that cryptos are in their fourth boom cycle. And we talked about, like, the last cycles, how soon will we be into the fourth one? I felt as though, of course, they felt as though, we kind of agree on the same thing, that a Fed pause should spark what we need for the fourth crypto boom cycle. Now, today doesn't exactly look like it, but I believe, before we jump into this, that according to CMC, I mean, we're still doing pretty well overall. Is BTC still in the 30K? It is. Yep, it's still in the 30K range. Top performer of the day and also the week was BCH, right? Bitcoin Cash. Some other ones like Arbitrum doing pretty well for the day. So that's cool stuff. Let me see what's going on with that. Pepe, BSV is doing really well. Conflux, ETH Classic. So that's good stuff. And, to see, BTC dominance still doing its thing and dominating above 30K, that's always a good thing. We'll see what happens on this on the 1 hour, the 24 hour, and so on, but it's still up on an average of about 12% on the 7-day chart for BTC. All right, we're going to jump back into this outline for you guys. And again, please smash the like. It does help the broadcast get out to a broader base of viewers. So here's the weekly update. This was posted basically on Saturday. I wasn't again with you guys on Saturday, but they show impressive resilience. It says, we believe this week's rally confirms that cryptos are in the fourth boom cycle, like I mentioned. Published on June 24th. Luke Lango, Charlie Shrem. The crypto markets rebounded with a vigor this week. Staging one of their most impressive rallies of this cycle and pushing BTC to a fresh 2023 high. We did see that. I think we even saw, for instance, BTC, was it up to 31,200, something like that, maybe slightly higher. But the key thing is that was part of the new highs, especially for the year. It says, we believe this week's rally confirms that cryptos are in their fourth boom cycle and that crypto prices will push significantly higher over the next 2 to 3 years. And that's, whether you're a fan of BTC and Ethereum, you got to keep in mind, like I've always mentioned, they represent about 81% of the overall market. But what about the altcoins? Will, they push through it as well? I feel as though that will be the next big thing. Says, fundamentally, the rally was driven by liquidity improvements, which bodes well for future crypto price prospects. Both BlackRock and Wisdom Tree filed for spot Bitcoin exchange trading for BTC, while EDX, a crypto exchange backed by financial titans Citadel, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab, went live. And of course, we understand, BlackRock did that, ETF application with Coinbase. Some people feel as though that Coinbase will be, I guess you could say, the quote unquote chosen one, because BlackRock will do a lot of business with them and so on. We'll see, right? But if you're the world's largest asset custodian, it would make sense that, that's going to actually be a thing. All right. Here's a source from Inside Bitcoins, but it says all of these developments promise to increase crypto market liquidity. Now, the bottom line is, how is that so? We covered quite a few things, in regards to this outline. So, for much of 2022, even going into this year, 2023, we would always pay attention to what, Jerome Powell and the Fed is doing as far as how many basis points they're going to raise it. We would have, predictions. It's going to be 50 basis points. It's going to be a quarter, or 25 basis points. Do we finally get a Fed pause? And of course, we did finally get a Fed pause. And now we're starting to see things starting to, I guess you could say, get that bullish momentum. I did see that Jerome Powell reported that there'll at least be 2 more of these meetings by the end of the year, between now and the end of the year, about the possibility of raising the basis points. But their goal, of course, as you guys know, is they want to get inflation down to 2%. Now, of course, they're going to base it on a few of the reports. Hopefully, the reports show things are looking good, especially when it comes to inflation, especially when it comes to CPI, other things, right? Like housing, you name it, right? But it says BlackRock news is particularly exciting. I think a lot of you guys have been paying attention to this. You guys are retweeting it. You're sharing it amongst each other. But it says, given the firm's tight ties with regulators and very successful ETF approval track record, right? Electronic transfer funds, I believe that's what it is, or exchange transfer funds, excuse me. In short, when BlackRock applies for an ETF, if you weren't aware of this, it almost always gets approved. And that is, whether you're for BlackRock or not, that's very bullish. Therefore, the prospects for Bitcoin ETF have never looked better, right? Importantly, these liquidity improvement developments almost entirely eradicate recent fears about regulatory crackdown. And you've seen it. There is now a shift, right? Like I mentioned when I was with you guys on Friday, if you can't beat them, join them. So the SEC can only do so much to kill cryptos if major players like BlackRock, Citadel, and even Charles Schwab, who I'm still so bitter at them, I have to admit, are pushing for it to go mainstream. Now, they believe, as an investor place, that the combination of these positive fundamental developments set the stage for a ton of new money to come flooding into crypto space over the next several years, which we see as being a hallmark of the fourth crypto boom cycle. Well, how about this? If you're going to see the stage for a ton of new money to come flooding into this, and it's because of BlackRock, well, you can pretty much draw your own conclusion. You can state that, okay, this is where the concept of a utility run comes through or comes into the whole mix, because they don't want to see these assets be so volatile. You have to have the strict regulation, hence the clarity, you name it. But like some of you guys have mentioned, will this be the last of these bull runs? Like shout out to Selmo Fudd. He's saying, call it like a bull market. Don't call it like, a true bull run. Or some of the other guys are stating, yep, this is it as far as, the last of these cycles, or the last technically bull run, because a utility run is where it's at. Whatever you want to call it, we are recognizing the shift before our eyes. Technically, this rally came at the perfect time to support the boom cycle thesis. I even called it, bull run thesis. This is technically, I think, number 11. But let's get back into this, and we'll focus on this chart here in a bit. Bitcoin held its 2023 uptrend support line, and it has since bounced to a fresh high. We see a run towards 35K, very likely in the short term. Could it very well happen by, I don't know, the end of the week? I think that's way too soon. I think most of us feel as though that's way too soon. Maybe in a couple weeks. How about maybe in a month, right? But the thing is this, typically speaking, if we are following these cycles, they don't have these giant leaps that happen overnight, right? Like you have to see certain things happen. You'll see spikes, you'll see retracement, you'll see a spike, you'll see more retracement. Then you'll see the time of where people complain about sideways consolidation. But if you've been into this whole thing long enough, you understand that strengthens the assets, that helps create a pressure cooker effect. So all these things are worth taking note, right? But it mentions if we get such a run, after this 35K BTC, the technical confirmation for a boom cycle will look better than ever. Absolutely. If we were so down in the dumps about, back, was it last December, if I'm not mistaken, BTC dropping to 15,007.8 or, in that area. That to me seems like it's still the bottom, and some people who keep pushing this idea or opinion that no, it's all going to crash and it's all 12K. There's always a possibility, right? We could get some crazy black swan event, macro and microeconomical crazy things that could happen. But whether Pearson feels as though the whole war, in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war, is that going to come to an end? We did see some recent things about, I guess they're not even calling it an official coup, but it sure felt like it, right? So there's all sorts of indicators that like things do seem a little bit more bullish. So here's this chart. We have shown you some things in the past. This is a little bit different, but it dates all the way back, I think, to April. It says BTC has successfully reestablished its 2023 technical uptrend. Here's a representation of this. I would try to blow it up a little bit more, but it would just be too blurry and so on. Your source is from Bloomberg Finance. Okay, so it's not like made up, doctored up stuff. And you see what's going on with this. And we have pointed out before that you get a Fed pause, typically is blast off, not necessarily blast off to the point where like things go parabolic, but you now see the start of where we're going. And that's always worth pointing out. And how do we know that with Fed pauses based off of the last previous 3 boom cycles, why that's important? Well, because every single time on the previous 3, when there was a Fed pause, it gave us the bullish momentum that we needed. So how about this for size? I mean, is it going to be a lot more than 69K a Bitcoin? Shout out to LeGrand Commission. He's mentioned, we should see 70K a Bitcoin. I see other people state 100K, but some of these guys have backed it up with actual here's why, not just based on an opinion. Look at these metrics and so on. So as we get further into this, it says, therefore we believe this week's price action serves as the strongest confirmation yet that we are indeed in the 4th crypto boom cycle. The question now becomes, how high can cryptos go? Now, I want to state this, okay? A lot of us are invested in mainly altcoins. Like, I think there's a few of us that are obviously invested into, BTC and stuff like that, because you recognize that it's still a great opportunity. And I would say yes. My thing is, though, if somebody's going to say to me, hey, Max, you have, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not saying that you have to do this, but here's $50,000, cash. You could either put it all into Bitcoin, as in BTC, or you could put it all in altcoins. You guys already know my answer. I'm not going to put it all in BTC. I would definitely go the altcoin route. QNT, XRP, XLM, XDC, Jasmy, HBAR, Algorand, a few of these other ones, right? I'm just throwing some out there. I'm not giving you my top 10 exactly, but I just feel as though that has a higher rate of return. Now, if you have the means necessary to do both, you're going to do both. I think the overall population of people who, let's face it, don't understand blockchain, don't understand DLT, technically speaking, they represent, like apes, and they just ape into some of this stuff. And, they don't want to learn more about blockchain. They don't want to learn more about use cases, DLT. They don't care about all that. All they know is that in the past, BTC is what worked. So you can't deny that. You can't deny that dominance, right? So it says, as we noted before, the current price action in the 4th boom cycle looks a lot like the early price action in the 2nd and 3rd boom cycles. Again, a little bit more of a reiteration I was talking about earlier. I mean, if you have signals that show here's what happened with the last few Fed pauses of these particular years before things blasted off, you can't deny that. It's worth pointing out. Assuming these similarities continue for the rest of the year, then Bitcoin should pop above 39K. I mean, this is them lowball, in my opinion. I've seen it much higher than this. But this, of course, is from the analysis from Bloomberg. But as far as it coming from Investor Place, they've had it way higher than this. Let's take a moment to look at this real quick. It says forward returns for BTC bull cycles. And of course, you see, how this happened a while ago. I mean, it's pretty cut and clear for the most part. Forecast 152% or BTC at 39,022. I mean, I think I saw, maybe it was a few days ago, maybe it was when Larry was on, somebody point out, the question of like, are we in a bull market, or is it not going to happen until like 2024, 2025? And I think somebody posted like, yeah, we're absolutely in it. We've seen as much as 70% higher than it was. And for some people, right, 70% isn't enough. But on this forecast, this, at 39,022, that's 152% gain. It's not too shabby. Am I going to go get all bent out of shape and be like, that's nothing to, point or put focus on? My thing is, I'm going to start getting really excited like when we're over 70K. I believe personally on the next cycle, I mean, it's not financial advice, right? But I feel as though at the height of this 4th cycle, not at the height of a utility run, totally different thing, But I feel as though, like, I think we do see 100K BTC personally. All right. That's just my own belief. And I also, based on some of the metrics and so on, that's the way I look at it. Combine this with some other factors like Russia-Ukraine war, maybe possibly come to an end. I don't know. All those things would help. All right. Before we wrap up this segment, let's jump down to this as well. Okay. So it says, looking out in the long term, given BTC's logarithmic trend lines that it has formed since 2011, right? Dating back to 2011, we think BTC can run to 200,000 by 2025. And that's why I wanted to say this part for you guys. Because, again, they were referencing what? Bloomberg's. They also have some of their own reference of data and so on to bring to us. So, 2025, some people feel as though that we're basically now in, not only like a fourth boom cycle, but like by that point, maybe we finally do get some of the regulations, like, real clear regulations. Could happen, may not happen, but either way, this is one of the highest I've seen personally. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm going to look more into this. I want to see more of the report. And basically speaking, they said overall, we are very encouraged, which I am too, by recent fundamental developments and price trends in the crypto industry. All of the important determining factors for crypto prices are turning positive. I mean, basically speaking, they are. Whether people want to agree with that or not, it's okay. I mean, if you're the type of person you feel like this is all going to crash to 12K, that's fine as well. I'm not going to really report on this whole thing about Chili's, but I'm going to give you guys this note right here about Energy Web Token. This is one that I've been feeling like I need to add to my portfolio. So EWT, DAG, Stratos, Flux, and what was the other one I was talking about the other day? Oh shoot, man, I can't recollect it. But anyway, this is one of about 5 that I felt as though, Caspa, right? I call it like the New England clam chowder version of Casper. You got to get that as well. So those are the 5 that are kind of like at the top of my list right now that I don't hold yet, but I recognize would be great to have. So anyway, some of you guys hold EWT and Energy Web Token and Deloitte Switzerland are joining the Polkadot ecosystem. Now, as we know, Polkadot is a layer 0. So it says ESG focused blockchain Energy Web realize its needs in regards to the superior scalability and security offered by Polkadot, prompting it to ditch its custom ETH-based chain. That's bullshit in itself. Can you imagine if, like, people, for instance, they put focus like on QNT, it's technically ERC20 token and so on, and jump to XDC. The way I look at it is, if I was very bullish and I was holding EWT, and if this was a complaint for the longest time, then you are more than ecstatic at this point. Because now you're jumping to, let's face it, a lot faster, better platform. Some people, of course, going to complain about this. I guess maybe from an NFT side of things, because ETH does a lot of that. But who's to say they still can't have a bridge, right? I'll have to look more into that because I'm not into Energy Web Token. I thought I would report to you guys. But Energy Web's partners include Shell, right? Vodafone. Remember we talked about how big Vodafone is in regards to Quant. I did a deep dive in regards to that. And even Volkswagen. Deloitte Switzerland is entering the Polkadot ecosystem via the Kilt protocol, a parachain focus on KYC and KYB solutions. Now, there's a little bit more here. I'm not going to get into all this, but I will get into the part about Polygon before we kick it back into the comments. And the reason why I want to do this was because before I felt as though on my deep dive for Polygon that with ZK EVM at some point, Polygon could go absolutely parabolic. I think what hindered the whole thing is when there was like, that hack a while back and so on, but it wasn't anything too crazy. But we did see a tremendous amount of volume during the time of, some people call it like the bear market, but the price didn't reflect that. All right. So here's an update if you've been paying attention to what's going on in Polygon. And I know that these are some nice notes to share with you guys, kind of bonus that we do here at CTN. So let's just take a moment to get into this for a brief moment. So it says Polygon Matic received a new proposal that would turn the Polygon proof of stake chain into a ZK EVM Validium. Now, here's one of the key things. Like we talk about this in the past, it's one thing to share news about things, right? About the utility of this project, the utility of that project, and so on. To me, this is an example of Polygon actually using the utility of ZK EVM compared to before, where you're, it's like in beta, you're attracting a bunch of developers to come in and use this, which is great. So the difference this time around is actually using the utility of ZK EVM and so on. So let's jump into this for just a brief moment. Validiums are like ZK rollups, if you're a nerd that knows some of this stuff, in that they are scaling solutions designed to process transactions off-chain, then publish proof of those transactions on-chain. Again, guys, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you're publishing the proof of these transactions on chain, well, boom, that's a no-brainer. You are literally using the utility of this, and then maybe we will finally see a shift in Polygon. We're talking about like price action. But Validiums also make use of the off-chain data availability to keep fees lower and enable greater scalability. So I mean, like, remember we're talking about BSV and some of the scalability. This is a perfect example, but with Polygon. Data availability handled outside of Ethereum. Again, outside Ethereum, that's great for Polygon, right? Why would we want to, or how we can't exactly scale too well on Ethereum on an old, dinosaur technology type of thing. Obviously, there's gas issues. But it says, yet still in a decentralized manner by leveraging Polygon's network of validators. If the proposal passes, which I think it will, the upgrade is expected to go live early next year. And that's incredibly bullish because some of you guys, even I myself, are DCAing more into Polygon. So, it may seem as though when we don't talk about Polygon here daily at CTN, that is definitely something to pay attention with. If you're wanting to look more of your own research into this, just simply type in Matic or Polygon and put in this keyword of ZK EVM. That's about it. We're not going to talk about Near or Tezos. Those are great projects. Just that I don't know of a lot of you guys that are into those. Please smash that like. We'll kick it back into the comments right now, but let me know what you think. Do you feel as though that, yes, Max, it seems like we're getting that bullish momentum we need. 39K of Bitcoin is more than feasible at this point. And long term, we will hit some of these crazy price predictions like 200,000 of BTC by 2025. But I will state this: we get 200,000 BTC by 2025. You don't have to worry about some of your altcoins like Jasmy. Right? If Jasmy runs a correlation of BTC and Ethereum, again, draw your own conclusion in regards to what that would be worth. All right, let's check back into the comments. Thank you to everybody who's here right now. I really do appreciate you guys. I do see that we ticked up to about 42 people. Do appreciate that as well. Let's kick some or put on some banners back on, and let's see what questions or comments you guys have for us today on CTN. All right. So I'm gonna double check the other screen. If I did get a super chat or something like that, I don't want to miss that. And I do apologize. The other day, I think it was like on a Thursday or Wednesday, we had a newcomer and he posted a super chat. And then finally, when I got around to get into it, I didn't see any more comments from it. And I felt really, really bad about that. But anyway, Learn and Evolve, aka Darren Magruder, is back. Thank you for being back. Triple C, Cool Cat Crypto, thank you for being here. Steve the Canadian, I see, is also in the house. Thank you to you as well. All right, so let's go further down. Boomer is Quant for Max, Vaseline, Latex Layer. That's funny stuff. That's all right. I'm not saying you guys can't have a good time. By all means, be, just because with what I reported earlier, be yourself. At the end of the day, I want you guys to be yourself. Nothing bad is going to happen. And like I was telling Larry, I'm going down on the ship. I am going down with the ship. So there's nothing to worry about. Okay, guys? All right. Just some people have some gripes, and it's okay. All right. Crypto Homes 777. Welcome. All right. Steve the Canadian's got a question. It says, it only jumped because of the ETF news, though. Did something else happen? Still a bear market. You still feel as though it's a bear market? Okay. Well, I could respect your opinion. Thank you for that. I mean, there's of course other news, but my thing is, like, when we share stuff, Steve, like from Investor Place and so on, we're sharing like, CPI, we're sharing, for instance, like what's going on with the housing market. We're sharing like, here's actually what's going on with the inflation, not just like what's out of the horse's mouth from like, Jerome Powell. We're sharing all sorts of things. Like if it shows that in the previous 3 boom cycles, that you get a Fed pause, and then from there, it's like, wow, things really start to take off. And we just recently finally got a Fed pause. That's worth paying attention to, in my opinion. And on top of that, like it mentioned in the article, what was it? Where we're at? What was the increase? Let me pull this up for a second. I mean, earlier was 78% increase compared to like where we're at the beginning of the year, and where we're at now is up 100. Yeah, forecast. Here's the forecast. We get to 39K BTC. That's 152% increase. So I mean, yeah, my friend, I'm totally rooting for, like a real true bull market, all-time highs, or superseding the all-time highs of 11/11/2021. But at the same time, like, I do want to pay attention to the data of what has been presented and so on. But I get where you come from, and we all have difference of opinion in regards to that. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they could be completely off with it and so on. I do pay attention to what these guys say, because they have been right about 90% of the time, and that's why I renewed my subscription to them and so on. They have called it right on almost everything I'm into. Of course, they didn't cover XRP and so on, but what I'm saying is, like, Audius, I would never known about Audius without them. I would never known about GRT without them. I've known about Filecoin long before them and so on. Of course, Filecoin tanked because of the SEC, but you get what I'm saying. All right, let's see how we're doing on the likes. Please smash that like. We're up to 34 likes currently. I do appreciate you guys. It's just that if you get more of the like, it's free, it doesn't cost anything. It gets the program out to a broader base. All right. Let's see here. See, I love when you guys do this. This is good stuff. Get the algorithm going. I think I welcome Cool Cat Crypto. All right. Iraqi dinars. I heard you guys talk about this the other night a little bit. Steve the Canadian says Bitcoin will now be centralized to BlackRock. Good job, everyone. You guys are literally handing over what was the people's crypto. Yeah. Do you guys see, for instance, Ben Armstrong's report about BTC, by the way? So apparently the government, our own U.S. government, technically owns the most amount of BTC when they seized or continuously seize, for instance, like, drug dealers' assets that happen to own, for instance, BTC. The one that they seized the most of was back in the day when, if you guys remember, the whole thing was Silk Road. So the U.S. government, I guess, owns a little over 1% of the entire supply of BTC. That was what's reported. I'm not saying that that is a true thing. That's, of course, what Ben Armstrong reported. I don't see him making that up. I got to verify that a little bit. But still, I mean, if that is the case, that's, yeah. So, BlackRock in the future, or maybe now, the U.S. government, yeah, I would agree with that. It doesn't sound like it's too decentralized anymore. It sounds more centralized at that point. Someone Fuzz says, there's like a pinball game. Once he gets started, he tilts himself. That's funny. All right. Spill the beans, cool cat, excuse me, on that dinar. All right. I've been schooled already on it, Triple C. Let's see if you guys have any other questions or comments. Welcome, Michael Montclair. Thank you for being here, Mr. Montclair. What up, YouTube family? Boomer G.W. Bush said this, quote, the war will pay for itself. All right. Welcome back. Learn and Evolve. This is the name of Darren McGruder's YouTube channel. So check it out, you guys. I'll give him a quick plug because, he is part of the CTN fam. Let's share your channel real quick, Mr. McGruder. Learn and Evolve. Show this real quick. It's brand new. And let's try to pull it up. Or do you know what? Maybe you do it with the other thing. Hold on a second. It's not pulling up. Boy. I just pulled it from Twitter. I found it. Okay. Here we go. So here is his new YouTube channel. Hooked him up with some nice intros and so on. It's got 27 subs, but it was just launched and so on. Here he is. And he obviously talks about crypto. He did some recent videos. about XDC. File storage is a growing trend on XDC. And you did another one, of course. Japan is determined to be a leader in the Web3 space. In regards to Jasmy, awesome that you're doing this stuff, man. So I'll leave this up here for a bit and give them a sub, guys. It's just type in learn and evolve. But you got to do the what was it, the ampersand, right? You have to do that one. So hit shift on your keyboard, number 7, pulls it right up. All right. The ghost is back. He says, "Hey, good evening, Max. Let us all grab some prune juice, an Arby's chicken sandwich, and buy some Jasmy and chill out." I haven't had Arby's chicken sandwich. You talking about the 2 for $7? I did try last week the Arby's Americana. I didn't like it that much. I mean, I do like a red onion, aka purple onion. I always call it purple onion because it looks purple. But I don't know. I kind of felt like I was eating a glorified version of Subway with roast beef. You know what I mean? I was like, I might as well just gone to Subway. I don't recommend that, but I'll try out their chicken sandwich sometime. All right, we're gonna kick it into a few more comments. Cool Cat Crypto says, "How do you get dinar? I know about all that, just have none at the moment." So you guys do some of that we call it FX trading, right? My cousin was really into it long before crypto. Did really, really well for herself. She owns a place over at Huntington Beach out in the LA area. All right, learn and evolve, Mr. Boomer. I didn't forget our bet. Jasmy hits $1, then you have your chance to name to Longhorn fans for a day. That's funny. All right, let's read a couple more, and then we'll get back into our outline. Boomer says, "If Jasmy hits $1, more like when, my friend, but I hear where you're coming from, I'll change my name for 2 days." Wow. You don't have to do that, but that's cool that you're a sport, Boomer. So what's going to happen? You're not going to be Mr. Boomer F it Sooner. You're going to be Mr. Longhorn F it Sooner for 2 days. Jeez, that would be painful. That'd be like Larry trying to be like a Red Sox fan or wearing a Red Sox hat for 2 days. I don't know if he'll do that. Jeez. Yeah. All right. That's not a good trend line. It's slowing over time. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's read maybe one more. Magic Power says, "If Jasmy gets to $1, he'll move to Dubai and marry 4 women." My God, that's a lot of women. All right. All right, we have 40 likes, 45 people watching. And let's kick it into the outline. So we shared, of course, Fox Business. We shared what's going on with the investor place. Let's jump into some QNT, and this comes from the one and only Quant Papa. And I want to report this, you guys. Quant Papa has been freed. Now, he says that he's only been half freed because in reality, he lost a lot of his subscribers and whatnot. And it does take time to get the subscribers back. I remember when I deactivated my Twitter a long time ago, it took like a day to get back, but he's been on for more than a day. But anyway, whatever the case be, the way I look at it, he's back. Smash that like for Quant Papa. We talk about, free Quant Papa. Well, if you're watching Quant Papa, you've been freed, in my opinion. I know it was a setback, and I do feel bad for you in that regard. But here it is, all right? So we've been talking about QNT, and hopefully tomorrow, because it's the 27th, Quant Network will release their complete video, okay? The big whopper, all right, about a little bit more than just Bank of International Settlements, but, over a ledger to go public. I'll state this. So a few of you guys saw the entire video from Quant Network. I'm not talking about my video, but the one from Quant Network. It was very, very impressive because a lot of things that seem speculative or you thought you knew about, you didn't know about, right? So that apparently will be released tomorrow. And then I'm hoping that once it is, I will finally be able to release the video I put a lot of time and effort into. But yeah, let's jump into this for a brief moment. So here it is. It says Unseen IFGS 2023 video. And if you're wondering about IFGS and so on, it's like a fintech event that's in the UK. You know how we talk about Jasmy and IVS Crypto 2023 conference in Japan. You could look at this as being like an innovative financial fintech slash payments conference, if you will, of all the industry leaders in the world, to a sense. They're going to be at this event. And of course, this, I guess, apparently already happened, but it was on Monday the 17th and Tuesday, April 18th. Of course, there's going to be another one, I guess, next year. But just to give you guys a heads up before we play this, there was 2,000 plus delegates. They had 15 plus international delegations. There's 70 countries that were basically in attendance. So that was cool stuff. All right, we're going to go ahead and play this. I want to state this. If you have a lot of noise in your house, you're going to have to kind of focus on hearing this. I did, let Quant Papa know that, like, hey, is there any way to use an amplifier? He said that he has 200%. I have played this on my phone. I've also played this on my headphones, and it just doesn't seem like it's quite loud enough. But nonetheless, we're more than appreciative of these clips from Quant Papa. I went to the actual original source from YouTube, and it's just slightly louder. So I don't know. I guess you could say IFGS needs to do a better job of the outbound volume. But if you guys have no problems, then I guess we're good. All right, so Unseen IFGS 2023 video. Gilbert Verdian says, we provide what? The infrastructure. Smash that like. Let's listen to this. Here is the Q&T segment you've been waiting for. Here we go.
We'll provide the infrastructure and we'll provide the construct to create CBDCs, and we'll let banks innovate and create a new ecosystem around that technology and the platform. So we're seeing really interesting use case around programmable logic, allowing multi-party escrows, allowing conditional payments, allowing rapid dispersion of funds, where the private sector takes that responsibility and creates the innovation. And on the capital market side, it's linking tokenized money with tokenized assets and having a rapid settlement, moving from T+2 down to T+0 is the utopia. And we're seeing that innovation come from the payments world into the capital markets world.
Excellent.
We'll provide the infrastructure and we'll provide the construct to create CBDCs, and we'll let banks innovate.
All right, so we got a little bit more in regards to this. Let's jump down to it for a brief moment. I'll take you to this next tab. All right, let's share this. And on this one, it says, Unseen, also IFGS 2023 video. It says, did Gilbert just confirm the work with LSEG? And we're going to play this as well. Here we go.
Some assets you just can't invest in because you would have to buy in the millions as opposed to the fractional element. Maybe, Gilbert, if you want to give us some more examples of how you've been playing around with technological and legal ideas in that space.
I think, we saw this from the London Stock Exchange yesterday. They want to remove the difference between private equity and public equity and remove the barriers to investors and to on the buy side and the sell side to participants. So what we see is unlocking a lot of private equity that was previously closed, and what you can do with the technology is create velocity and allow it to roam. So you're not limiting it to a jurisdiction, you're not limiting it to an exchange. You can run this and transact and buy this anywhere in the world. So we're seeing that decomposition of financial services because it's blurring the lines between all the different types of assets.
Some assets you just can't invest in because.
All right, so glad to share that. And then this part is also very, very well worth looking into. So, a lot of times we are mentioning key things about, Quant and, for instance, Nexera, right? Alliance Block, being like the younger cousin, where you want to call it. This is also from Quant Papa. It says all pieces fall into place. Of course, you guys know that this is Rashid Jaja. It says, congrats on the partnership. It says it's a collaboration that we are having and connecting. And again, remember I was just talking about LSEG. So it says connecting to LSEG connectivity platform. And yes, there you have it. We are planning to use Overledger. All right, we will have a more technical deep dive to show how prior to release. People, of course, are thanking Quant Papa, love his work. I'm glad he's back because, he shares some key things. Obviously, some of the stuff is what he can share, that they allow, because when they don't allow it, they literally message people that they're familiar with and say, hey, take that down. But that's very bullish in itself. Glad to share that. There's obviously a lot more in regards to this, but I don't know. It was one of the key things I want to share. We're obviously going to get into a little bit more of what we have on our outline. The next news segment will be in regards to Jasmy. I still need to do the Jasmy deep dive. So if you're here for Jasmy news, we'll definitely get that to you here in a bit. All right, we're going to kick it back into the comments for a brief bit. And one thing I want people to do, if you haven't done so already, please smash the like. Turn on some of this stuff. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see who's in the comments. A lot of people in the comments. All right, Learn and Evolve says he just started following Caspa. Interesting project. Yes, it's definitely on my short list to get into. Michael Montclair says he's passing on the dinars. Is paper. I'm over paper money. All right. Let's go further down. GF Burke says, see what KAS posted on Twitter today. Holy guacamole. We can share some bonus featured stuff from you guys. You guys are always talking about KAS. We can share that. So GF Burke. But I did see that you posted something about that earlier. I think you retweeted, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's see what's going on. Let's see. Are you talking about the 10? Yeah, I think this is the one. I'm almost completely certain this is what he's talking about. So let's go ahead and share this. And if anything, I'll probably retweet this. People are going to be like, oh my God, you're covering Caspa? And then my whole inbox is going to flood, but that's okay. So yeah, it is crazy. Look at this, guys. We're going to blow this up. This comes straight from Caspa. It says 10 BPS report, quote, for the first time ever, a pure proof of work protocol has been carrying thousands of transactions per second across dozens, maybe hundreds of network nodes in a permissionless network running on affordable hardware. I wonder how long this is basically. Oh, that's on Twitch. Okay. It says, yeah, there's a little bit more in regards to this. Maybe I could blow up some of the highlights. I'll try to blow this up just a little bit more because I know it's going to be kind of hard to see. Let's see what we got. No, I'm out of the frame. All right. So here's the top part of this. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty impressive. Look at that. Look at the block acceptance above it, and then look at where it says processed 143 blocks and 143 headers into the last, like 10 seconds, basically. So, if you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. Screenshots or didn't happen. Here's the screenshots. And here's a little bit more detail about some of this. So that's cool. I believe that's the one you're talking about. So, all right, we're going to come back into the frame. And glad to share that. Let's go further down. I was glad to share that. I think I already beat him to that. Burke says Visa speed payments. Interesting. All right. Michael Montclair, the Grateful Dead is influencing the government and XRP. LOL, who knew? I think you're quoting some lyrics. That's good stuff. All right. Cool Cat says, I would be scared I would get scanned. I have no idea what a dinar looks like, or dinar. All right. How about this? Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk, welcome. Glad to have you here. What would Jasmy be worth if Bitcoin is at 200,000 in 2025? If somebody wants to take the time to do that. I know some of you guys are pretty good at doing that. It's just, I think if I got into that right now, I'm going to end up being that much more further behind in the comments. I'm already 20 minutes behind. Not to say I can't do it, but that's probably going to take some time. All right. Edward Vincent's in the house. Thank you for all those likes. Appreciate that. Triple C, check on the seller's feedback. All right, let's go further down. See if we got anything specific. Glad you guys are having conversation with each other. That's good. Talking about football. All right, here's one from Michael Montclair. The millionaire investor looks at charts and graphs. The billionaire looks towards astrology. J.P. Morgan. Fair enough on that one. John Smith, welcome. And further down into the comments, we got Patrick Collier. Glad to have you here. You're very welcome for the shout out. Hopefully more people check out your channel. And, you know, as long as you talk passionately about some of this stuff, I mean, you know, you'll just like the name of your channel, you too will learn and you will evolve. All right, let me stop the screen. I'm going to kick it into the next part of the news because we're starting to lose some people. All right, so let's get into some Jasmy, but this is not specifically Jasmy, but it's going to help out with the outline. So let's get into this. This comes from CoinDesk, and you guys did point out some of this stuff. I think you sent me like a DM. I think it was you, Boomer F and Sooner. I think maybe Coochie Boy as well. All right, so shout out to both of you guys. It says policy: Japanese crypto issuers won't pay taxes on unrealized gains. Government clarifies. Yeah, Biden could definitely relax and take notes. So it says token issuers in the country were taxed for unrealized gains from holding on their own tokens. That's ridiculous, right? But there's some clarification. Here's an update. You guys are kind of familiar with these two ladies, right? They reported this earlier today. This was today because I know I have an appointment tomorrow on the 27th. So this is 6 minutes. They do a very good job of getting into this. I may end up being a little bit further behind in the comments, but before I play this, it says Japan's National Tax Agency has clarified that crypto issuers in the country will not have to pay capital gains taxes on unrealized gains in a June 20th notice. The country's ruling Liberal Democratic Party Tax Committee approved a proposal to exempt crypto startups that issue their own tokens from corporate taxes on unrealized gains last December. So who would be some of those ones? Well, you know, hopefully they get into this. So Japan has been reviewing its tax treatment of crypto since last year to encourage startups to remain in the country after heavy tax burdens. But think about this, right? To encourage startups to remain in the country. Do we see that going on here in the United States? No, we do not. We always hear about, you know, different projects that are potentially going to leave. And I think, let's face it, I mean, you know, of course, I'm not rooting for this, but the reality is, if it did happen, if Ripple lost the case with the SEC, they would most likely leave. I think Brad Garnhale said that they would leave. Can you imagine how many others would probably leave immediately after? Again, a totally different narrative, if you will, of comparing Japan to the United States. So anyway, the partial revision noted in the June 20th document is a change from an earlier requirement that subjected token issuers to a capital gains tax of around 35%. Okay, that's way too high. The tax exemption will also apply to unrealized gains from holding applicable crypto continuously from the date of issuance or from taking certain technical measures to prevent its transfer to other persons, the document said. Now, of course, there's more in this. It talks about some of the reforms. Let's just jump into what these ladies have to share, because I'm sure they're going to get into all this. It's only 6 minutes. Smash that like. Comes straight from CoinDesk. Here we go.
There's a new white paper laying out Web3 recommendations for Japan's growing industry. And Emily, who's proposing this and what does it entail?
Hi, Christine. So yeah, this is a very lengthy and enthusiastic white paper that was issued from the ruling Liberal Democratic Party's Web3 project team, which is sort of a small but very vocal group of kind of crypto advocates among the Japanese political class. And it's just such a notable document because it really is trying to set Japan apart as a leader in kind of cryptocurrency regulation. And so this is a very long document, but I think we just need to talk first about the tone of the document. So initially it starts out with this statement, Japan is back again. That's what it says. So I think what they're referring to is this idea that, a few years ago, Japan was poised to be at the center of the Web3 and cryptocurrency world. Then it kind of fell off the map because it was sort of traumatized by some very high profile hacks. One was Mt. Gox and the second was CoinCheck. And so Japan kind of disappeared for a while, and it was really, really strict. It was really hard to list tokens. It was really hard to do anything as an exchange. But now they're kind of back with a vengeance, and they are basically want to position themselves as a leader in cryptocurrency regulation. So, this document just has a lot of recommendations for NFTs, for DAOs, for taxes, for just clarification. But I think, again, the main point here is the tone of it and how it really seems to portray cryptocurrency and blockchain as a benefit as opposed to primarily a risk.
And this is a huge contrast to what's going on in the United States, where the White House has been a lot more cautious about crypto. Maybe you can explain that juxtaposition there.
Yeah, I mean, cautious is a really diplomatic word. Our colleague Nick Day referred to it as scathing when he reported on the White House report, which I think is very accurate if you look at the White House report. I mean, this report, I really recommend everybody read it because it is indeed scathing. Just to pull out like a sentence from it, indeed, crypto assets to date do not appear to offer investments with any fundamental value, nor do they act as an effective alternative to fiat money, improve financial inclusion, or make payments more efficient. That's just like a small tidbit of that White House report. Like they're not feeling it. They're not into crypto, right? So this is just like a warning document. Now, Japan, of course, is very aware of the risks, associated with crypto, but the language is so different. Now, the Japanese report is not translated to English yet, as far as I'm aware, but just, our colleagues at CoinDesk Japan did interview the Secretary General of the party's Web3 project team, Shiozaki-san, and, there's basically language in this document that says things like, the cryptocurrency industry was once driven by early adopters, but now it will shift to mass adoption. I mean, Japan is envisioning this world in which, everybody's using crypto, everybody has wallets, everybody's using NFTs. I mean, it's just the two countries could not be more different in how they are looking at this issue.
What has given Japan the confidence to, become the world leader in crypto and blockchain technology, considering, they had those hacks you mentioned with Mt. Gox and everything, and we had this implosion with FTX and Terra Luna, especially that was impactful for those in South Korea.
Yeah. So basically what gave Japan the confidence is that they they suffered a lot of hardship and they saw that they could survive it. And they saw that their regulatory framework was tough enough to withstand some really bad things happening, right? So, I mean, if you look at Mt. Gox, that was a very, very early disaster. And then CoinCheck, which was a large Japanese exchange at the time, was the largest hack in cryptocurrency history. So Japan took the time to kind of like get their regulations in place. And then with FTX Japan was one of the few places where users actually got their money back, in large part thanks to Japanese regulatory protections. For example, very basic one, Japan requires exchanges to segregate customer assets from, corporate assets, which, most other places don't have. So basically, I feel like where a lot of countries are sort of living in fear of the other shoe to drop or something terrible to happen, Japan has already had a bunch of terrible things happen. Now they see that they can withstand it. So some of that fear is gone. And now they've kind of moved on to the, this is an opportunity phase.
So are they confident in their regulatory structures and how did they envision themselves as a leader in the blockchain Web3 crypto space?
I think that they are fairly confident. I mean, I think, for example, as I mentioned, this one clause they have about separating customer and exchange assets, like this seems pretty obvious, but it's not like we have that in a lot of other places. Another thing that they put in after the hacks was basically 95% of assets need to be stored in cold wallets. So they have like a few provisions in place. But the other thing about Japan that's really important is that it's very clear and it's very straightforward. Japan has the FSA, the Financial Services Agency. They're in charge of crypto. It's very clear. It's not like the US where there's like all these different people, all these different agencies. We don't even know what's a security and what's a commodity. Japan is just way more clear. Now, I do want to note here that there is some criticism that Japan, in fact, is too strict and that it is not easy at all to operate an exchange in Japan. And I think that's valid. But I think that, again, at least they're working on it and at least they're trying to set, a more clear regulatory framework in place.
Yeah, really interesting to see the evolution of this. I remember when you first started talking about Japan, you mentioned how cautious they were. Institutions and retail were definitely very hesitant to enter the space. But now it seems that after this wave of crypto and the collapse that we've seen in the US, they are more confident and getting into the space. So it's really cool to see that. There's a new one.
All right, let me pause that. That was kind of loud. Anyway, glad to share that as well. We're going to jump into that actually, like some of the Jasmy stuff, right? So before we kick it back into the comments, I'm just going to share a little bit more of what we have, and then we'll do so here in a bit. This comes from House of Chimera, and you guys, I think you've heard about them. I mean, if you've been around this whole thing of crypto for a couple of years. How does Jasmy Management democratize big data? Some of you guys know about this, some of you don't, but they recently just basically published this from, their platform, or their Twitter, I should say, for educational purposes. So it says Jasmy enables individuals to own their data and control their own data. We know about some of this stuff, but upending traditional data ownership norms. Users on Jasmy's platform can monetize their data. We talk about the decentralization of all this, right? But you yourself, as a holder, being able to have control or have a say in all this, and earn money off of that, right? What's being monetized, right, is pretty big. So it says basically challenging the traditional data profit model, thus providing transparency. Here is a bigger, perspective of what HOC is showing us. And I believe I'm going to go ahead and retweet this because, for the person that's brand new to all this stuff with Jasmy, you're going to want to know a little bit more in regards to all this. I've, of course, seen this before, but I liked how it was broken down. So I thought I would share that with you guys. We'll keep this up here for just a brief moment. Let's get into the comments, and then we'll get into a little bit more of what we have for Jasmy. Michael Montclair says him and Zara will buy a place in Dubai as well as Costa Rica when their ship comes in. Can't wait. Well, if anything, I think for the most part, you won't be paying much taxes. There are still a few taxes. Some people say it's all tax-free. There's still a few certain taxes, but it's a heck of a lot better than, what we got going on here. I've never been over there yet. I may visit there someday, but I don't know. All right. Let's see here. Here's a good question. Why does Etherscan show QNT max supply at 45 million and CoinMarketCap has it at 14.88 million? That I don't know, but I will state this. So a while back, I did 2 videos about a little bit of what you're mentioning, not so much on the Etherscan, okay? But it was like a FUD-buster special, if you will. And one of the things that was mentioned was I don't know if it was Greg Lunt, but somebody else pointed this. Actually, I think it was Greg Lunt, about how there was an unaccounted amount, very little, right? So I think originally it was the difference of 4.88 million and 4.66. And then it took a while. It took roughly about 3 weeks. Then we finally got Gilbert Verdin. He addressed it and so on. And we come to the conclusion that the right amount now has been adjusted on CoinMarketCap according to what he was mentioning. As far as what's on Etherscan, I don't know if that's new or if that's old and so on. Take more of a look into it, but I'm typically going with what he mentioned with his confirmation of 4.88. I know you put 4.8, but I think it's 4.88. Let me just double check that real quick from QNT. One. Let me see what we got. Yeah, 4.81. I thought it was 4.88. But yeah, we did a video on that a while ago. But as far as this whole thing with Etherscan, I'll have to look more into that and so on. I might even ask Quant Papa if he knows a little bit about that, just to kind of help save me some time. And I just lost this comment. Where am I at real quick? Let me highlight that. Let me jump back down to where you're at. There we go. Let's use that. That's a great question though, and you guys should be asking some of that stuff. All right. I think a lot of quant was burned. All right. Give us that juicy Jasmy news. Well, most of it will be in the deep dive. I don't want to make. I'm just saying going further. WrestleManias will be done. I cannot do WrestleManias anymore. I'm gonna be starting this new thing. So you get some of you guys are in the know what I'm talking about, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to do WrestleManias. Starting this whole new thing I need to put more time into as far as like work goes. So the next part that we'll get into, of course, is Jasmy. We have some XLM and some XDC, but as far as like, the days of me going like 4 or 5 hours, it's just, I won't be able to do that. All right. April Cornwall's in the house. She says, happy Monday night. Was put in the fam eating some red lobster. Was so good. You guys went to Red Lobster, or you guys actually like had real red lobsters from like Maine or something? That sounds good. I mean, I wouldn't complain about that. I like lobster. I don't get to eat it enough. To me, lobster is like a bigger version of shrimp, but more of a richer taste. Some people agree with that. Some people don't. But teaches them. Some people like shrimp better. I mean, I like both. I'm big on shrimp. Okay, we got some questions, some comments. Henry Brown, sorry it took me so long to get your super chat. Weekend dating shows with Latex Larry. I don't know about that, but maybe that is the case. And if you guys enjoy those type of shows, those will be available. I will be hooking them up with a thumbnail. Like I mentioned, it's going to have an eggplant. No, he's not holding an eggplant. Anyway. April says, hey, Boomer. No, we haven't. I have to try that. Interesting. All right, let's get into a couple more comments. Wow, you guys got quite the comments. Nope, no more WrestleMania. Sorry. No more of that. And I will state this. Hello, is it Mentalect you're looking for? Lionel Richie. Thank you for being here, Mr. Mentalect. Glad everybody's saying hello to Mentalect with the intellect. Some of us says Japan's time to shine, and it seems crypto is the way. Very good point. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Gray, aka Glitching the Matrix. Good evening. And let's kick into what we have. So we're going to share a little bit more of the not quant news. What am I talking about? Jasmy news. All right, here we go. So earlier you heard those two ladies talk about the whole concept of the Japanese white paper and so on. And you may be getting tired of hearing about this because some people feel as though it's kind of like old news by now. But check this out, right? This comes from 279. We do follow each other, and I do share quite a bit of his content. I'm going to get into this. So he states a total of 2,400 million Jasmy tokens, representing 5% of the total, will be allocated as incentives for various purposes such as promoting corporate business creation, developing platforms, engaging in financial activities, applying for its listings, and making other contributions to the business. Now, in the past, we talked about in their tokenomics, they even have so much set aside for the institutional money. Well, here's an idea of, what's going on with some of this, right, in regards to their token supply and where it's allocated. It says, when these funds are subject to a lockup period, it restricts the benefits that the corporate entrepreneur team can enjoy during the listing process. Additionally, the individual distribution of team members, I should say, rewards should be disclosed publicly. Now look at this note. This allocation of Jasmy's token could be for the market maker making other contributions to the business. Now, shout out to KAR Finance, right? He calls it Keeping It Real Finance, Jesse, right? He has mentioned the possibility that, some of the stuff that you've seen recently is from this market maker. And we do know that Jasmy apparently has a market maker. I don't know if they have a new market maker compared to when they originally had a market maker. And you saw The Jasmy token go to its first original all-time highs. We got to keep in mind what was in circulation and how that market maker went about things. That's where a lot of that FUD comes from, okay? Because they feel as though that whoever that market maker was just didn't exactly do the greatest job. To me, it seems as though that there is a new market maker, okay? And this person is doing a heck of a lot better job than the original one. Call it what you want, difference of opinion, who knows? Could be the same person, but whatever the case be, I think this person's learned from their mistakes. I'm gonna blow this up. So here is this. I think this comes from Hara originally, and I'll try to blow this up a little bit more. Hold on a minute. Go. This incentive, right? I do believe, yeah, Hara mentioned this a while back. So it says 2,400 million Jasmy, accounting for 5%. The money is used as incentives to corporate business creation, platform development, financial activity, listing application, and other business contributions. When such money has a lockup period, the corporate entrepreneur's team benefits, like I mentioned earlier, right? They're the same thing. All right. Let's jump back to what we have. Sorry about that. Where the heck is this? All right, there we go. And then this part from Dip Metaverse, you should be following Dip Metaverse. And it states 770 million tokens were added into circulation from the deployer wallet 4 hours ago. Now, in reality, 15 hours plus 4, like 19 hours ago, okay? This is circulating supply. This number that you see here, which is about 96.84%. Some people feel as though that, you know, by the end of the year, it'll be 100%. Deployer wallet remaining balance is now 1.55 billion. Remember the team's requirements for, let's blow this up a little bit more. Incentive could be based on eternal measures that we know nothing about, which is true. And then, of course, you could view more of this, kind of like Boomer F and Sooner was looking at Etherscan. You can look more into this yourself in regards to this from the Jasmy deployer to these specific addresses. And let's see here. Like you have some people, right, like upset. We rug pull, frankly. Jasmy Pirate, very active member of the community, says last year there was almost 90% dilution, right? And Jasmy is still here and building. Why expect a rug pull now when there's only 5% left? Exactly, right? Do your own research. I mean, think about it. It's not rocket science. I mean, if they're going to do a rug pull now, you're really going to do it with 5% left. They had all the opportunities to do this when there was 90% dilution, right? And, you know, or like a tremendous amount of supply. Let's say like 80% of the supply was still there and so on, right? So, again, you're going to really wait till 5% is left. I agree. I would totally agree with that. So I thought I'd point that out to you guys. I do believe that the next part of what we have is Stellar. So on this one, we have video for you guys. We have a lot of stuff for you guys. All right, so let's jump into it. I think there's a lot of other shows going on, like Cryptos R Us and so on. So attendance has definitely dropped down, and that's okay. Let's jump into Stellar, and let's get into this. Okay. Once again, from alp.web3, he says how Stellar Consensus Protocol can revolutionize the crypto world in 2023. And it says Stellar Consensus Protocol is a unique way to reach consensus. And this is something you hear a lot, right, in regards to consensus. On a decentralized network without relying on a closed system or a lot of computational power. It uses federated Byzantine Agreement, FBA, to allow nodes to choose their own trusted peers and collaborate, validating transactions. I mean, again, this is a little bit of the nerdy stuff. I won't get into a lot of this, but I do like this part right here. Stellar has seen impressive growth and adoption in 2023. It has, with over 1 billion operations processed on the network in Q1 alone. Stellar has also partnered with various organizations and platforms to leverage its technology for social impact, innovation, interoperability. Like I said, it's the secret advantages of the Stellar Consensus Protocol. And this part before I meant to read this part, I wanted to talk about because it talks about institutions. It says SCP is the backbone of Stellar, an open source network and protocol that enables cross-border payments and asset exchange. Stellar aims to create a more inclusive and accessible global financial system by connecting people, businesses, and institutions across the world. Now, earlier today, Denell Dixon had an interview with a lady. Her name is Carol House. And I was going to give you a quick little intro, okay? She, as in Carol House, has been behind the scenes on some serious cybersecurity and policy-making efforts for crypto, having served as the Director of Cybersecurity and Secure Digital Innovation at the White House National Security Council, as well as the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is called FinCEN. She's now at Terra Net Ventures. She sits down with, for instance, this interview with Denell Dixon, and she's going to basically discuss crypto's benefits for financial crimes investigations, the pros and cons of enforcement actions, as well as the process of pulling together Biden's government-wide strategy for digital currencies, and why the fight for enabling regulatory environment in the U.S. is worth it. Before you get into that, you're going to see this little brief, I think it's like a minute and a half. Yeah, a minute and a half from Denell Dixon herself, where she's going to talk about how there's a lot of debate about regulatory progress, and that we may see some of this continue to happen into crypto more and more in this year. We will. She talks about Carol House just briefly, but she's stating that the fight is worth it. So I don't know. We put so much focus on what's going on in Japan because they're leading the way, but at the same time, there is people from blockchain projects like Stellar, in which you do see the attempt for them to bring more recognition to this. So I'm going to play this first, and then we'll jump into the interview here in a bit. Please smash that like, especially if you hold Stellar. Here we go.
It's hard to listen sometimes. And the listening that needs to happen on both sides. And so that's why I will talk to any critic, anybody who is very down on crypto. You can name the regulator or the policymaker, and I'm happy to have that conversation. Again, not to convince, but to understand like why those sentiments are so strongly held by them. And it's just the best way to approach how to solve a challenge that we have, which is really getting people to understand that the technology itself isn't the challenge, and the technology itself has never once failed. It's the implementations and the things that we can see in the end that are really driving value. And I do think that one of the challenges that we have with respect to this technology is the fact that the technology has sort of been on its own, sort of trying to drive itself, and the secondary market has been sort of the driver of the focus, right? And the technology hasn't been, the difference is that normally product drives technology. And we're seeing that now. Finally, for the first time in the last year or so in the blockchain space, we see more and more product development and more focus on the underlying product versus the secondary market. That's how we're going to get to mainstream, and that's how we get to solving problems. But it is because of that secondary market, which is valuable, and I'm not being critical of it, but it's because of that the technology wasn't being built through product as much as it would have been in the early days of the web, for example.
All right, that's a nice little intro. I know there's not a lot of people watching, but that's all right. We'll still get into what we have. We're going to stop the screen. We're going to share this. It comes from the Stellar Foundation, and I'm going to probably play at least 10 minutes of this. It's a good interview, and I did get to review about 45 minutes of it earlier. I thought I would share it with you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and share this. It states why the regulatory fight for crypto in the U.S. is worth it, featuring Carol House. All right, here we go.
Welcome, Carol House. So great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today on Block by Block.
Thanks, Denell. Excited to be here.
You have such a fascinating and wide-ranging career that's still in constant development, which is what I love, and I want to dig into it. But first, for our listeners, could you share a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So as Denell mentioned, I'm Carol House. My background has been kind of a patchwork quilt of different national security issues. I started in the Army actually as a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense officer. And then I also moved over into intelligence, specifically as a collection manager. I spent some time on the Hill in Senate Homeland Security, and then made my way over to FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the anti-money laundering regulator for the U.S. They had a cyber unit, and when they told me that their mission was to hunt down money launderers and terrorist financiers, I had to come aboard.
Jumped right in.
Yeah,
Love
like,
it.
could there be a more fun mission? So I was the lead for cyber, crypto, and identity policy there. And then my last tour in federal service so far was when I went to the National Security Council to drive our efforts related to cryptocurrency, ransomware, and digital identity.
I loved when you were, I love where you are right now too, by the way, but I loved when you were in the White House and when you were working with the NSC, because it really, I knew that we had someone who really understood it and had paid attention to it. And so it was super helpful to have that vantage point. It's something that I think we forget when we're on the operating side, is that having that kind of education on staff just makes such a huge difference. So
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Janelle. I appreciate that. I agree that having the tech background is really helpful footing to not find things like cyber and cryptocurrency intimidating. I've seen that too frequently, where either tech people can often make things sound very difficult, or even when they're trying to make things attainable for others, some people just get too intimidated by the technology. And I think having that grounding on the tech side certainly made it much easier to look on the policy side and figure out how to step back and create a tech neutral framework. I know it seems a little inconsistent that to do tech neutrality, I think you have to understand the nature of the tech first.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's such an important piece of it. And I don't think that this industry, by the way, has been has done all of its part to be able to get that kind of information in. It's done a lot better than I think we did in the early days of the web. But I do think that we have a lot of room to improve there, and more operators talking just about like the value of the products that they're building actually delivers a lot more opportunity space for us to really educate and move forward in this space. You had such a unique vantage point in terms of being able to understand both the implications of crypto being exploited on the illicit side for the crime side, but also its potential benefits in the crimes piece too, and in those investigations. So this leads me to your time like during at FinCEN. So what was that experience like? What was the general sentiment towards crypto and blockchain at the time? And like, how did you sort of approach like that role that you had?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that I went over to FinCEN because I met another colleague who was working on countering illicit finance related to proliferation issues, which as a chemical officer, that really intrigued me. And then finding out that they had a cyber shop and hunting down cyber criminals really interested me, since most cybercrime is for the purposes of making money, or to steal or leverage monetizable data to then eventually conduct fraud or extort people through ransomware or some other kind of cyber-enabled extortion. So coming into that, I was so curious. And I think just the most incredible people in government are sitting in FinCEN who really understand and have been looking at cryptocurrency and distributed ledger technologies for such a long time, even looking at digital currencies before cryptocurrencies existed, like e-gold, for example. So those people that I came aboard with really inspired me, because they encouraged experimentation and diving into the tech, and also helping me understand how to examine suspicious activity reporting and look at illicit financing trends. Since in the military, I'd certainly seen illicit activity trends, but had never really understood the kind of black box from my view about how the money supports it all. Since it really just became incredibly evident, even though it seems so naturally logical, that criminals generally don't agree or believe in a lot of common principles, but they all believe in money for the most part. They're conducting activity to make money, and they need money to conduct and propagate their activities and their networks. So that was great. There is kind of a natural evolution, I think, a maturity model that happens inside of policymakers that are looking at crypto. Like at first, it's sort of ignoring it, and like who would care about funny money and wouldn't want to use a dollar to launder and or to use for payments, et cetera. And then going, oh my gosh, bad guys use it. Ransomware as a service, sophisticated ecosystems really wouldn't have existed and grown to their highly sophisticated and complex levels without having cryptocurrency exist in its current state of implementation. So that can cause a lot of people to get very interested in it as a national security threat, and then also to look at some of their options. And without deeper without deeper focus, that can lead some to think, gosh, should this be
It's all bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's all bad. Yes. But then eventually you recognize that it's not like Fedwire and Chips and Swift. Most of this stuff publishes to a public ledger, which is really interesting and incredibly valuable for investigations into money laundering activity, and frankly should be incredibly useful for lots of other monitoring for market risks, and potentially regulatory regimes that lean on disclosure-based frameworks, like those for consumer protections, and market and investor protections. So those are some of the evolutions I'm looking forward to more in this ecosystem. But so once people start recognizing this benefit, the benefit of that information being made available, I think there starts to be that recognition that, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, well, what are the other benefits that exist in this ecosystem and in this space? And then it really drives a more nuanced examination of the technologies as well as the assets and activities that they're supporting. Because even if the technology is neutral, it's not the technology that's inherently evil. The failures that are happening, I think I've heard you say, Danelle, that the failures were not ones of the technology. These were failures of people and markets and businesses. So I think that really drives a more nuanced understanding. Of course, some still come down on the side that that there's some big national security threats here, and maybe that the risks outweigh the benefits. But plenty of others see, oh, there's tons of benefits and implementations that can be driven here. It's really all about the design. So then most of us end up looking towards what are the levers, whether through regulation, enforcement, encouraging innovation, and subsidies and grants and research and development and standards. What are the right levers to drive the kinds of market evolutions in the fintech and the regtech that are needed to make sure that those implementations do account for the kinds of controls that are needed?
Yeah, it's such a push and pull. It's so interesting because as I was listening to you, I was thinking about when I think you've met Candace Kelly. She's our chief legal officer, and Candace and I were law school classmates. Yeah, she's amazing. But when I first came to her and said, look, I want you to consider taking this role at the foundation, she was like, crypto. And I was like, look, I want you to do your own homework. And I gave her a bunch of information. And the funny thing is, somebody who's been so involved in investigations with respect to money laundering or any kind of criminal activity that's leveraging illicit finance, you recognize the value right away. Mm-hmm. And so it's part of it's a really interesting evolution of just like, oh, wait, yeah. And yes, of course, there might be things that can be leveraged here that the government might not like, but let's figure out ways to make those things balance. And because the truth of the matter is, like the good outweighs the bad here, and the value outweighs the bad on both sides. Value to consumers, but also value to like how to get a more efficient market, and that's beneficial for everyone. So it's a fascinating evolution, and one that I love to. The most fun that I have is to take the harshest critic and not try to convince them, but just try to talk to them about where their challenges sit, because then you can eventually provide information to them rather than trying to convince them in the discussion, but providing that information that allows their own evolution is one of my most favorite things to do.
All right. In closing, that last part that you mentioned, it's kind of like somebody that hears about cryptocurrency and they're like, it's just all it's all a scam, all of it, and so on. So just coming back and saying, oh, hey, it's not because I think so. You provide them with some actual information, use cases, educate them about blockchain, distributed ledger technologies, the difference of like the old payment systems of the world with traditional finance and so on, and where we're going here. Anyway, I'm not going to keep you guys. I'm going to get going. It's been a great show. Well, I should say it's been a great show. It's been a good show. We've had shows that are better, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I do thank everybody that's showed up. And with that said, do thank you for tuning in. I'll read the last bit of the comments. Stellar has quietly established a strong global presence. I would totally agree with that. And Selmo saying Pepe is running with BTC. Menelect, what's your price prediction for 2025? I guess going to 2026. And let's see here. Sheesh, Max. Let's go, brother. Yeah, not tonight, man. It's just I got a lot of stuff I got to work on, man. Unfortunately. So I should say unfortunately. I need to I've been so sidetracked the last couple of days. So there's only so much time in one day. But yeah, it won't be WrestleMania. Have a lovely night, you too. I would say it was a great show. Put my vote in a box and smoke it. Yeah, glad to have Quant Papa back. Darn bug. Yeah, no problem, you guys. We'll be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for some more Crypto Talk Now. And we do thank each and every one of you, especially the one and only Mr. Boomer Sooner. And we'll see you guys, as well as the newly freed Quant Papa, on the next one. Have a great night, everybody. Over and out for now. Bye-bye.